All right, everyone. Thank you so much for clicking on that button to watch this video. With us today, we have Ralph Savastano from Embroidery by Cozy in New Jersey. Welcome to this interview, sir.
Hi, it's great to be here. How's
Really,
everything
really
with you?
going well. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. You
Yeah.
know,
All right.
yeah,
All
we'll take
right.
it, take every day as it comes and
A-
look for the next adventure, I guess. Right?
Absolutely. I was pleased to see you were so willing and ready and to do this interview with us and talk about price it and your experience. It certainly means a lot to us. So thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. It's been a game changer for us, actually. So yeah, I mean, if I can give credit where credit's due, it's worthwhile for me.
Well, I mean that's a great place to start off, I guess. I mean, how often do you use Price It? Is it like every other day, or do you use it every single day in your shop?
Yeah, no, I mean, if I'm not doing production, I'm on Price It, either looking something up or drawing information down from that. So yeah, no, it's being used all the time. Yeah, there's you know when you buy into a software package, you have to buy into the package. You have to use it. You can't just use certain parts and then I could just handwrite other parts. You're not taking full advantage of what it has to offer then. And uh, you know, we're fortunate enough that it works for us. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that brings me to one of the questions I had for today is like you when you came on board, you jumped on pretty quickly and you went right to town. And this one of the things we talk about here so often is when people ask us, how long does it take to implement Price It? How long is the onboarding process? And I say, well, it really depends on what you do. And you're one of
yeah.
those examples of what did he do to get this implemented so quickly? So maybe you can unpack that for me, because it is difficult. Switching over from another software is difficult. So maybe you could tell us about that experience and how you did it so quickly.
Yeah. Okay. It's definitely a mindset. Like you're gonna have long days, you're gonna have long nights.
Hmm.
But you work hard up front to have it, to be easier later. So it's, the onboarding process. It is what it is. It wasn't going to be easy, but you have to do it. You just have to get in there and you have to grind. I think a lot of what helped us is that we were very much process driven. We knew that everything has to follow, a certain order in a certain way. So then when you're in the thick of things running your business, sometimes you don't take a step back and look around and say, oh, this is, take a bird's eye view down and look at what you're doing. And I think that because we are a family business, I think my father does help a lot with that. He always can bring me back and say, okay, let's take a look back, see what you're doing. So so a process was always on the forefront for us. My brother, who's my partner, his name is Jeff. He went to school for management information systems, which is probably an obsolete major at this point in time. But so he was at that point in time was Excel, Access, all those database programs, and he was familiar. So anytime that I would run into a problem or a bottleneck or something, like he would say, "Oh well, we could put it on into a database program, and this could spit out this information, and do that." So it was always like I have a need, and then there was a solution there. So I got to then rely on the computer and software to then solve the little problems that come up and just make your life easier. But anytime uh, you have to put the work in to set it up properly, and that's what we did. So we committed to it. We were with Fast Manager beforehand, and we were with them for 10 years, and
Okay.
we didn't
Wow.
we didn't really want to. Well, I'll put it this way: I wanted to change. My brother didn't. But for him, it was more of he could not wrap his head around if we own the software, 'cause we bought that software outright. Why would we move to a rental model where we're paying month to month when you already own something?
Mm.
And uh, it's just it is funny how it all works out because the features that I explained to him that price it has that would help everything. He would scoff at me and say, "Well, I mean, we could still do it. It might take a couple extra clicks, but we could still do it." And now, as
Mhm.
as it goes, he uses these functions more than anybody to his advantage, and far be it
That's
for him
awesome.
to ever admit that he may not have been absolutely right at that moment. But yeah,
He's like the guy that went
it's
over and like kicked at it a little bit and was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, we
yeah,
could do this. That's
yeah.
awesome.
He was, he's an amazing brother, and he's helped propel this business forward a lot. But he's definitely one of those people that needs just a little bit of convincing. And then once he's in there, he's, oh, well, we could do it this way, we could do it that way, and okay, so
That's
yeah, it's
awesome. Well,
yeah. So we're very fortunate to have my family around me,
hats off
and
to Jeff then as well.
yes,
Yeah,
hats off to
yeah,
Jeff, absolutely. Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, it was it was time for us to upgrade. Fast Manager was not upgrading anything anytime soon. They kept saying they were going to, and they were saying it for like 5 or 6 years. We looked at their upgraded product that they had, which was still in development, and it really wasn't much different than what they had.
Mm,
So
okay.
um,
Well, you started looking around at different software out there, and obviously you went around and checked the other major ones out, including the one that begins with a P and the other ones that
oh
are
yeah,
out there. Um,
yeah.
I mean, ultimately, you had to come down to a decision because
Mm.
they're all can sort of do the same thing, right? Sort of. So it's
Yeah,
a
okay.
matter of does it sort of fit? I mean, what ultimately made you choose us over the competition in this case?
So yeah, I mean, I ran down so I went to the Imprinted Sportswear show in Atlantic City 2 years ago, and my job was to find a software company because I knew that we needed more we needed a way to interact with our customers without having to take a phone call or answer an email, give them the same
Email, yeah.
information, and then be able to also have continue to have uh, either people that work for us, my brother, my parents, have access to the same information, right? So I think whenever you're having some type of tracking software, uh, I, I believe that the goal is because you can't do it all, right? There's not one
Right,
person that could run a business and do everything they need to. So you
right.
need some common source to share the information, draw the information, and to get things moving. Otherwise, it's just like banging your head against the wall.
Hmm.
Nothing good comes from it.
Right.
So it was just a matter of finding what we were needed, what we needed, and I made a list of all the things that we need, and then started looking around for all the different software to see if how many of those things that we needed were off the shelf, ready to go in the software packages, and uh, we would just check off. So who had the most amount of boxes checked is where we go. So I came out of the Imprinted Sportswear show. So we spent the next couple of weeks, going on Zoom calls and all that stuff. And it's just, oddly enough, I didn't even know who PriceIt is or what it was. I was just getting frustrated because I really couldn't land on a company that could check enough boxes for us to transfer over. So I just do a
Mm.
Google search on screen printing embroidery tracking software, and not to your guys' credit, you were on like page 5 or 6 of the Google results, but I'm sure that's
Yeah.
changed by now. And I'm
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
I said, PriceIt. I haven't heard of this because I was going, I was deep. I was into everything. I mean, I can name all the names out there, and I interviewed every single one of them. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see this. So I go on your website. I started reading. Okay, I can schedule tasks. Oh, with a due date. Oh, check. Okay. There's a customer portal. Oh, check. All right. So then, I'm like, these were major things. Like, a barcode scanning. Oh, check. Okay, great. So then, and then I go right up and I sign right up. I send the link to my brother. I'm like, I think this company, they've got all the major things that really nobody else was doing or doing well enough. Let's give it a shot. So then we booked an interview, and then the rest was history, as I
Well,
say.
I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you found us and that you're on board with us now. Um, so you went to town, you had a process, you were very clinical about it, you got everyone sort of on board.
Right.
And I'm sure you guys are using some of these features that are there and still learning probably features because
Yeah.
it's there's so much to learn. But like, what are some of
Yeah.
the features that you find yourself using, or what's the ones you find the most value in, or your favorite features in Price It?
So for for my brother handles most of the website sales
Mm.
and that stuff, and it really it's become the proofing and the being able to take the image and then of your logo that the customer wants to put on there, putting it on the product that they're going to order, sending it off to them, and placing the image onto the product, relatively easy, hitting the send button, and then you could put it off to the side, and then you're going to get an email notification whenever they look at it saying it's approved. Okay, great. Now we can schedule, and it scheduled the production and everything was great. So that alone for us as justifies the monthly expense, just because the amount of mistakes we were making, like silly mistakes. Now you think you got your stuff covered. You think we've been doing this for 30 years. You're like, I know what I'm doing. And then there's certain things that you take for granted. And in this business, it's all about details. You can't do that. So
Oh
even the
yeah.
simplest thing is making sure you have the right garment up there, the Gildan shirt with the in the jade dome color. You have it on there because someone's gonna be like, oh, I didn't think the shirt looked like that. You know what? Or they sent this to us and the customer, wholesale customers sent us the wrong goods. Well, I'm like, well, this is what you sent us. This is what's on your. Yeah, I know, but it wasn't right. So okay, rather than
Mm.
getting into a contest of who's right, who's wrong. Guess what? It was solved. On a simple email proof that took me, literally seconds to generate, and then I saved. So
Mm.
just those kind of incidental things that you think you have processes in place, but this, and our mistake rate has gone down. Preventable mistakes, let's call it that way, has gone down significantly. Like
Okay.
it's unbelievable, and it's our website orders that come in as our customs. We have templates up there, and people can then put, okay, in this spot I want it to say this spot I want it to say that,
Oh,
and
cool.
we get a readout, everything has to go, and then it goes to our artwork. We assign a task through PriceIt for our artwork guy to then make it, and then he saves it as a PNG, goes back to my brother, and he puts it on the product, sends it off, and then it gets approved or it gets changed, or like, oh, I know I put it that way, but you know what? Maybe it'll look better this way. So we go back, but make the
Mm-hmm.
changes, and by the time the customer gets it, it's exactly what they asked for, and maybe what they've grown to think that they want, ultimately what they wanted, So that has been, especially on the website stuff where you're mailing a product out, and you say, okay, even though you did everything to the letter of it, if they didn't actually see it ahead of time, and actually
Mm.
it was, maybe they didn't like what they decided. So anyway, just the shipping back and replacement goods, all that stuff is,
Mm-hmm.
is over. Like that just doesn't happen anymore. And that is all because of the proofing process. And quite frankly, I
Mm.
don't know how you could make it any easier than what you do. And the fact that it's on the image, even the image being on the invoice,
Mm.
even when you send a quote out there, it's game changer, because a lot of time, if you're doing multiple orders for a customer, it's easier for them on their paperwork to say, oh yeah, that one, this is this logo, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, it's the little
Yeah.
things like that you didn't think you needed or be helpful that are actually, are saving you time, money. And so, yeah, that's I say the proofing, the overall goal for us was to get an overall flow where we could, if we were selling the garment to a customer, selling decorated apparel, that we could generate the quote, put their logo right on it, immediately send it off, and if they were happy with it, they could either put down their deposit or pay it in full, get back to us, and we send if the proof wasn't approved at that point, if we had to make any corrections, we could do that and send it back out. That was approved, and then we could produce our order and then ship it out. We didn't have to worry about at the other end if we're going to collect payment, if making sure that it was the right artwork, the right product. Everything is it's kind of done up front, and then you didn't have to worry about it after it's shipped. So it's that
That's
has been
fantastic.
that's been the best for us. I think that a portal for me personally, I thought the portal would be great for our wholesale customers. We have a couple large ASI customers that there's the salesman and then there's support staff underneath, and the support staff underneath is to make sure the goods get there, make sure they ship on time, make sure that. So we were constantly getting emails and inundated with when's this going to ship? This already shipped. I need the copy of the invoice. I need the tracking numbers, and all that stuff now is there. They just have to log on, and yeah, and now I don't have to get 5 emails about the same order. When's it going to ship? What's it ship? What's the tracking number? What's the invoice total? Or the tracking number. It says it's there, but now it's not. It's a daily. Well, these are all things that they can handle now. And the information is available right to them, and it's when you could cut out, for at least for me anyway, if I can cut out 5, 10, 15 emails a day, it's a lifesaver.
How's that been for you, like headspace and productivity and all that, being able to just kind of rely on the process and let it go?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, you have to. Yeah. It's been amazing. So, for us, we had to go through, I think, a lot of our established customers will do repeat orders every year, but sometimes they only order once a year. Okay. So
Right.
for us, I think the biggest hump for us to get over into PriceIt was to getting all of our repeat logos, especially for embroidery. For those people out there that do embroidery, that there's a lot of information that goes with the design. Not you have your thread sequence, you got your type of backing, your hoop, the exact placement down, and all those things. And once you get it into PriceIt, you could pick on it, and it's all that information is like in a cluster right there. You pick it right up from your art library, and then you put it into the order. So someone's ordering black shirts with the red logo, or we got red shirts with the black logo. We have all those saved in our art library. So anytime, no matter what they're going to order, just click up. Even if it's a different black shirt, at least we know for the embroidery file, these are the color sequences we need to do on black. We pop that in, and it passes right through into production.
It's supposed to be nice to not have to look through a bunch of email boxes on information that's like literally right there and literally right attached to the job.
Right.
Instead of now, whose email are they here today? Oh, they're not.
Yeah.
So does anyone have their password? So you're like, everything is right there. And I know that's one of the things, I'm going to just interject for a minute. Like when we had our shop open, being able to just open that thing up and know what's going on without having to look through different email boxes or ask around what's going on.
Right.
That's very cool. So as you said, there's a little bit of a transitional bump in there because you had to like get your information in there. But I see your company is one of the ones that instead of kicking back and looking at it, trying to figure out what to do, you just kind of went for it. And you started putting all that information in there on the front end so that when you needed that information, it wasn't scrambling around. It was already right there.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're in business, that either whether you're that person or not, you grow to become that person that always has to plan. You always have to you always have to think 3 steps ahead because something's coming at you, and you want to try to minimize any downtime or mistakes or the next question that's going to come up, or so I think that just by the nature of being in business, you have that ability to look 3 steps ahead, try to change things before they come at you in a bad way.
Proactive instead of reactive.
Yes,
basically. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
well, and when you're talking with us, obviously there's, have you had an experience with us, in terms of like needing custom changes or little tweaks made or anything like that? He's smiling.
Honestly, I thought you guys were gonna like refund my money and be like, yeah, no, you know what? I don't think we're a right fit. I would come up and tell my wife, I would go up and sometimes I thought you guys would just think I was crazy because you'd be like, you want to do what? I'm like, well, yeah, I need to be able to track my box anywhere that it is in the shop. I need to know where it is.
Where is it?
And you're like, okay, I'm like, well, okay, because we do a lot of little orders. Okay, so box comes for us. A box comes in. I want to be able to scan the barcode that you guys generate off your thing, and then all my shelves have barcodes on them, and I want to be able to say, okay, when this box comes in, the second it comes in, it's checked in, it's scanned. Okay, it's on the ramp going up to the storage area. When it gets up to the storage area, the part-time person comes in, puts the box away, he scans the box. The box on the barcode on the shelf, and so okay, this box is now on that shelf. The order's ready to be pulled. Okay, guess what? I run a report off the tracking page saying, okay, these are all the jobs that are running tomorrow. This is the order number. This is the shelf number where they're at. And this is the machine that they're going under. Okay, the kid now has this list. He's going over. He's pulling the boxes off the shelf, puts it under the machines. But all that had to come from there's nobody else's system nobody else's software system had that, and I knew that it's something that I needed. And when I talked about it with anybody, any of the other companies, they were like, "Yeah, I don't know." I talked about it with Brian, and he's like, it took him a second. He's like, "We'll figure it out." I'm like, and I was like, "Okay, maybe he's just blowing smoke, right?" And then, sure enough, hang up. We're like, "All right, well, we kind of need this thing solved." And then I get an email later. It's like, "I got it. I got it. I got an idea." And you guys helped me work it through. And now it's, a core part of what we do. So now I can look back in and see everywhere that box has been. And sometimes it's helpful if something has come back for a change, something has changed midway, or we've done something wrong to a product. So we do a big part of our business is high school varsity jackets. And so a lot of times an order will come in and the kid's about to letter in it, and he's playing his one position, and then during the course of the season, he's ordered his jacket, because a high school varsity jacket takes about 6 to 8 weeks on season to get made, come to us, get decorated, and then ultimately get to them. So in that time while they're playing their sports, sometimes they may have actually started playing a new position. Well, now they want to put that information on their jacket. So okay, so now I'm gonna have to go back in and change it, or if it's already been lettered, it's got to go back through the system again. So then having to know where that jacket is at any point in time has always been a problem for us, especially if someone calls up and say, especially a wholesale customer will call up and say, "All right, well, I'm adding 3 more pieces," or, "Oh, by accident, I know I approved the proofs and everything, but by accident, the guy's not a 2XL, he's an extra large, so I gotta pull those out." So instead of us running crazy trying to figure out where the box is, we just go in, bring up the customer. "Okay, yeah, okay, look, it's on shelf 502. Fine, I know where it is. I'm going to get it." Or, if someone calls up and says, "Oh, well, have you started it yet?" Well, okay, we can look, see. "Oh, yeah, it's under machine cluster S30. Oh, yeah, well, I'm sorry, it's being run right now." So these are the whole goal, I think, with all of tracking software is to be able for anybody to answer any customer concerns, have to have the answer right there in front of them. And the only way to have that is a central source for all the information, right? So, and that's the reason why you need some type of tracking software, like PriceIt, and
so when you were playing like Where's Waldo before, you'd literally have to like walk around the shop and say, "Do you have that?"
Right.
And now you're stopping someone in the middle of what they're doing.
Oh my God.
To answer a question and look with you. And then now you've got 3 people doing it just for looking for a couple of things. And I could see
and there's something that's a customer could kind of even call on a whim, and to you it's not the most important thing right now, but to them it is. And as obviously you want to be customer service oriented, and you want to help them in any way you can, but you can't spend 25-30 minutes looking for the order. So that was a must for us. That I think every other company, maybe there was one other company that had a semi solution for that, but you guys didn't have it right up front, to be fair. But you came back with a plan and you guys executed it, and then that was it. I'm like, oh, but then you're like, oh, well, then I start to ask, well, what about this? And what about that? And you guys, and oh, you know what? Next day there'd be a solution for that. I'm like, wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that if there's something that if I can't follow your software and the way you have it set up, that you might actually be able to change something?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that novel?
Nobody else does that. No. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I'm like, all right, well, maybe he's just saying that. And no, anytime that I've emailed with a question on how to do something, if it wasn't already set there, magically, and I'm tongue in cheek, of course, but you guys found a way to make it work. I've never been left hanging, ever since I've been a subscriber. There's always been a solution. That may not be the solution that I was thinking right off the bat, but anything that I've asked for, there's been a solution for. And with any of these other customers, there was never that. The closest I got was, oh, well, maybe we'll think about that for the next revision. Well, that doesn't help me now, and the biggest strength of PriceIt is are you guys. The fact that you are looking at your product and say, you know what, it always can be better, and and you find the solution, and you do it quickly, and it's just amazing. I feel like you guys are my partners, rather than a company that I'm paying a monthly fee to, and that's the truth.
Thank you for saying that. That does mean a lot to us.
No, it's the truth. Yeah,
Ronnie is going to like hearing that for sure, for sure.
yeah,
I
it's the
was going
truth.
to ask you, well, I appreciate that. I was going to ask you, the next question was going to be what's your experience with our tech support, but I think you've
Oh my
answered
God.
that
Yeah, no, you
quite,
can't.
quite well.
The funny thing is, you've ruined now. Your service has now ruined me for anything else. Because now I send an email. Like, there are times that there's been a time where it's been 10:30 at night, and I'm this is during the onboarding process, whatever, and I can't get something to work, and and I send an email. If I'm like, all right, now I got to put this down for tomorrow, whatever, and then I start looking at something else, wondering when I'm going to get home, and then I look back at my inbox. Oh my God, there's a response right there, and sure enough, it's Ron. He's like, oh yeah, try this. I'm like, oh, okay, boom, and now, okay, now I'm doing it, and I'm right back in. I was able to get done, and I didn't have to leave it for the next morning. Now, I'm not saying you have 24/7 technical support. That's not my point. The point is that anytime that I've sent an email, I get a response back in a ridiculously quick amount of time. That I I don't even think I've hit send, and sometimes I've gotten responses back, and that is something that you really can't quantify. And I don't know how you could actually put that in your sales pitches to somebody. It's not until you're in the trenches do you truly learn to appreciate the value of service, customer service, technical support. It is, yeah, the biggest the best compliment I can give you is that you've ruined me for everybody else in the world. Yeah,
Well,
now
I
I
appreciate
just
that.
expect it. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. One of the things that we've been sort of saying around here is we want to expect more of ourselves than our customers ever will. And, if we keep that mantra going, then,
Yes.
hopefully we'll continue to impress people like yourself, whom,
Yeah.
by the way, in our email exchange, I offered you compensation for this interview because it's your time being taken. And we always do
Yeah.
that. We offer some
Yeah.
sort of, and you're like, nah, I don't need compensation. So I was like, wow,
No,
that's
I think if there's anything that I could say here that actually helps somebody, because I mean, let's be honest, they're someone looking for this type of software knows that what they're doing isn't working and they need a change. And if I can help to convince them to make that change, then it's better off for them. And you guys certainly have proven to me that
wow.
you're worthy of more. Of more business and more customers, because like I said, your adaptability is, especially like in the software world, there's no such thing as adaptability. It's again, let's wait for the next revision or something. But I think
Yeah.
that you guys had the gravitas to say, okay, our system isn't perfect. It's not for everybody, but we're gonna make it so that it can be, and that's
Right.
something you just don't. Nobody else has that, or you know, nobody else has that. You know, and
Wow.
and then when you say there's something that can't be done, they have no problem telling you, yeah, it can't be done. Whereas you guys have never ever said that to me. So and I'm pretty demanding. I got to be honest. I'm not the easiest customer on the
Wow.
planet, but I've been at it for 30. This is our 33rd year, and I, I I do have my way of doing things, and you know what? They work. So and I
Well,
don't really want to change my ways because I'm using a different software company. So
you don't get to be in business for 33 years like you have and not know what you're doing and not know what you need to do and have the
right,
follow through and the cojones to get it done.
yeah,
So,
no,
we applaud you, man. Like we're
no,
as equally
thank you.
impressed with you as a customer because, like I said,
Mm,
sometimes people will sign up and then they'll just not take the time. And then a week will go by, and then a month will go by, and
yeah,
then they cancel. And you're just like, what, like, did you think this thing was just going to run itself?
no,
Like there has
yeah,
to be
no,
some work. And so we always come back to you now and we go, well, what about those guys at Cozy? Like they jumped in with both feet and got it done. Like, and this person over here, we're practically begging them to get going on something they paid for. And what's going on? So clearly with some of these folks, The issue isn't with their software. It was with maybe the way that they're
Yeah.
doing business.
Yeah. I can
So
see that.
I could see where like, someone like yourself coming on who has their processes in line, who's been doing this a long time, knows what to expect, could take that time to really run it through its paces,
Yeah.
find out where you need workarounds, find out where maybe we can make changes. And only then
Yeah.
can we really kind of come together and make a solution that works absolutely for you
Yeah.
most of the time. Because not
Yes.
like you said, nothing's perfect,
No.
but there has to
But
be someone engaging on the other side. And for that, we do applaud you for that, because that
no.
that was awesome. And you're an example for others, that
Yeah.
are looking to switch, not just to any software you're switching to. You have to put the work in, or
Yes,
it's
you
not
do.
going to do you any good. You're not going to learn it. You're not going to be comfortable with it, and you're going to feel like you've spent all this money and you didn't get anything out of it. And it's because people don't take the time to do what
Yeah.
they do.
And I understand that, when you're running your business, most decorators are 1, 2, 3 person operations. I get that, and maybe you don't think you don't need all these things. But if you ever expect to grow, you gotta
Hmm.
you gotta have a system in place, because as much as us small business owners think that we're Superman and we could do it all, you can't. And you need you need a central source of information that anyone can go to, and that everyone can feed into, and that has all your information. It can't just be in your head. You're never going to make it. And
Yeah.
uh, but you have to resolve yourself to that, and you say, okay, I know. Yes, I got to print these 100 shirts by 2 o'clock today, but you know what? Yeah, I got to get my processes entered into PriceIt. I've got to get my customers entered in. I've got to get my pricing matrix in there. And yes, and you know what? I've got to use it, even though it's easy. I could just make this sale up and be done with it. I could just write it here in 2 seconds and be done. Or it might take me now 10 or 15 minutes in the beginning to enter it into PriceIt. Well, guess what? Put it in. If you put in the PriceIt now, when they come back for a reorder, everything is right there.
Yep.
Okay,
Reorder.
instead of you're looking for that scrap piece of paper or the receipt that you have in a box sitting somewhere in the corner that has all that information on it, like it's yes, it is work up front, but it pays back
It
in
does.
spades. Um,
Absolutely.
so keep your eye on the prize. Look long term, look for expansion, because again, you can't do it all by yourself. And at this point in time, if you could bring someone in. If you know, your wife, your cousin, somebody, bring them in and part time. Say, okay, they have okay, I can click this button, do this, this button to do that. It's a lot easier to teach somebody when there's a
Yeah.
process in place, um,
Boy, that's the
rather than
truth
just
right
stuck in your
there.
head.
That's the truth right there,
Yeah.
because when the process is all here, this isn't always going to be around for people to
Right.
talk to, because you're
Right.
busy. You're on the
Yeah.
phone, you're meeting with customers, you're writing an email. If they can log in and they already know the process, they can just complete that process in some sort of system. So,
Right. And
you
then
know,
it is a little bit of okay. Well, I'm going to relinquish control from myself. So I need to know everything that's going on. But if you have people around you that can look up the information, and then if something changes, they can enter that information in the system in the notes section, or make some type of note on there. You don't have to know everything that's going on. You could just go to PriceIt, look up the order, and it'll tell you. Oh, okay. There's been times where I've talked to a customer and they're like, oh yeah, well, we went back and we changed this. And I'm like, oh, we did? I didn't know about it, but sure enough, I look at it. Oh yeah, look, it's changed. Everything's taken care of. I didn't have to do anything. Okay.
that's awesome.
And that's something that I was definitely not used to do, and the fact that
Mm,
you could get your support staff around you to do things that get them to do things that, they could be able to do if they just knew how to do it. And there wasn't a chance they were going to mess it up by that. And all the information being in one place that they can draw from. I mean, uh, that it is worth it. Everyone, if you say that, you don't want to pay a month, like my brother, he didn't want to pay a monthly expense, but it pays for itself.
yeah. Well, we're partners, like you said, like
Yeah.
we work for you. So
Right.
what's great is that, instead of having to be responsible for whatever change or anything, or you have issue, you have another team that you can reach out to
Yes.
and be
Yeah.
there for you with our undivided attention.
Well, I think you guys were also what helped is that you guys you were apparel decorators, right? And
Mhm.
So you understand the trials and tribulations, and you can understand workflow, and you can understand, understand a
Mm-hmm.
process, right? So in order for on the screen print again, I want, I would like I would like my screens made, you know, the day before, so that they could dry overnight or whatever, and I'll tape them up in the morning. Or it's just things like that. You understand that process, and
Mm-hmm.
you could say, okay, where are your bottlenecks? And when someone starts to tell you, you can actually identify what those bottlenecks are, and then maybe you could give them, oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, what we do in our shop is we do it this way. And someone's like, oh, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
My father always said, still says, the best ideas in life are stolen. So the most, the what you can learn from somebody else, and that's part of the reason why I want to do this video is, I don't think I'm giving any earth shattering advice here, but maybe to somebody else it is, and that's why I go to trade shows. That's why I sit on conferences and stuff like that, because you can pick up one little tip that could change everything for you, and you
Well,
don't necessarily have to pay someone to do that.
well, it's nice to have you talking about it too, because I could sit here and toot our own horn all day, but it's
Right?
us doing it. When you have someone else, and you haven't been less than a year, right? You've been with us about a year, something like that.
Yeah. It's yes.
So
Yeah.
someone,
Yeah. Just a
yeah,
year.
so we don't have this
Hmm.
long-standing relationship, and this is still fairly new.
No.
And you're a shining example of how to, like I said, how to get this thing set up. And we see you using this thing every single day, and we know that
Yeah. No.
you're giving us
No.
great ideas. It's been a great relationship so far, man. We really
Yeah.
enjoy
No.
having you as a customer.
The fact that you could speak to somebody, and then have them actually not just say no to you, to consider it, and then find a solution. It's invaluable. Like, if
Yeah.
you have this, if no one else takes anything from this conversation, it's the fact that you can actually express something and then get a result back, um, that's positive, or a solution or some type of workaround, especially in the software space. It's unheard of at any of these other companies. And believe me, I've tried them. I've I've sat through, and I put them all through their paces. What about this? What about in this scenario? In fact, when we would log into a meeting, they'd roll their eyes before we even start before I even started talking.
Oh
And
man.
but it's whatever. Like, if I'm going to spend my money, if I'm going to convert my whole shop over to your system, I've got to make sure it works. And
Absolutely.
it was a complete, like, it was like being on another planet. And then when we started talking to you guys, it was like, yeah, we could do that. Oh, well, how could we do that? Let's find a way. And
Yeah, that's
I don't know,
awesome.
give it a day or so, or not even, or even a couple of minutes. You guys, it seems like, I have a problem. You guys would immediately go into a huddle and come back with a solution
Hmm.
for me. And I'm just I'm one customer, right?
Right.
I'm paying my monthly fee. Like, why? What makes me so special? When you guys have all your other customers, and it never felt like I was just another number. It was always, what, this is what you need. We're going to focus on what you need. So, I mean, that's, you can't, you know, you can't, you can never replicate, the, the service you get from a small business. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
from people that you're talking directly with.
right.
Uh, it just, I think that's is probably the best, the message that PriceIt needs to convey is personalized service, immediately.
Mm.
I mean, it's truly unheard of in this space.
Well,
Yeah.
those are some encouraging words, and I think hopefully, if people watching this will give us a call as well and get to know us a little bit. Maybe we'll look at a demo, find out about our software, because not every solution is perfect for every person, but man, if we can get close, or if we can be accommodating in any way, we certainly will. And you know,
Right.
um, we've even taken it so far as to like find out how is our software performing from different geographical areas, and we'll make calls or send an email and say, hey, we just set up a new server near you. How is it working for you now? Because if we not, we can maybe move you to a closer server,
Right.
or move your database. So you're in New Jersey, so I think our nearest database to you would, I think, it'd be in New York. Have you had any lag issues or anything like that? No.
No, not at all. That's I remember reading in forums and there were a lot of what, and even when we were doing our demos, you guys constantly were harping on time. And, don't worry, we're on a video with this is not going to go with this slow. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not slow. So I've never had, I don't know, maybe just because I'm in New Jersey and concrete jungle. But there's definitely I don't have that kind of lag. I have more problems with internet connection than I do with your software, and that's not much at all. So yeah, that's not even it's not even an
That's
issue.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, we just fired up a new server out west as well for some of our West Coast customers, and we're always just, I mean, honestly, the bottom line, and you've said it way better than I possibly could, is, we're always looking at how can we make it better? How can we do better? How can
Yeah.
this service be better? How can this software work better? What about this process? So it's always not being comfortable with where we're at, always striving towards innovation, striving towards making it better, striving towards making our customers happy. Um, and I
Yeah.
feel like, we're starting to see some of the results of that from feedback from our customers and
It's
looking
great.
at their numbers, like, wow, we have one customer that started with us that, he started in his parents' basement and now he's doing multi-million a year.
I, yeah,
Like
but it's having that foresight to say, okay, I want more than being in my basement. I want more to being in my garage. In order to do that, I have to set an infrastructure in place to be able to grow. And
right.
yes, that's going to take work.
Yeah.
First of all, you can't be in this business and not know how to work, right? It's a
Right.
labor
Right.
intensive business. So
Hmm.
why can't that same apply to, your computer system,
Right.
and your software system and your and just your processes in general. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I
no,
mean, what he did is he basically put a team around him little by little
yeah,
and just, processes and get those
yes,
processes down. And, even some of what he had to say shaped the future of PriceIt from then. Like what we
right,
see now is from someone very similar to yourself who, like I said, he was a teenager when he started it. Now
yeah,
he's got kids. He's
right,
got a family, big old family, and he's been at this a long time. And he talks at, some of the trade shows. They bring him up to talk, and to see him go from this, like,
right.
dude to, like, you know, running this multi-million-dollar empire is pretty cool. And to know that we were a part of that is even is awesome. It's humbling sometimes to think about it because, you know, a lot of people don't really spend a lot of time, getting to know their customers that well. And
Right.
so it's almost like, there's when you get to know your customers and understand who they are and their stories and the little idiosyncrasies behind what's going on and what shaped their business, you have a better understanding of who they are and a better understanding of how can they be served. And so that's something that I hope we never get rid of here, is
Yeah.
that personal one-on-one connection that we have with our customers.
I
I know
think,
go ahead.
yeah. No, I met Ron for just at this past Atlantic City trade show. And prior to that, I think I've only emailed uh with him prior, but it was reassuring for me to actually put a name to the face, because I look at him, he's the type of guy where his mind doesn't stop. Like he's
Never.
constantly, and I've got, I always had respect for the company and the product, but when I saw him at the show, and I asked him a couple questions about some buttons, some features that I didn't know, and the way he thinks, and his whole thought process, and he ponders everything,
Hmm.
and he must be like, I don't know the stuff, how his brain mind must work. I don't know how the guy ever can sleep at night. But the guy, you could just tell he's always deep in thought. There's always a
Always.
process, always a way, and like to have someone like that on your side.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
He's always asking the right questions, it seems like, too. Like, he
yeah,
sent me a message, hey, can you look at this new feature I put together and give me your
yeah,
thoughts and input on it? And I looked at it, I ran it through its paces, and I had a couple of UX, you know, suggestions for him with the user
yeah,
interface.
yeah,
Like the next morning, he goes, "So how's this?" What? Like,
right, yeah,
I
yeah,
just told you about this. Like,
yeah,
literally just like few hours ago, like, and
Yeah.
you've already done it. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And sure enough, it's some more stuff that he's added into the mock-up system. I don't think it's made it into yours yet.
And
But
yeah.
easier way to download templates and then use them and all
Okay.
that,
All right. Yeah.
light
No,
years ahead of where it
I
was.
just
So
so just answer me my question. You don't even have to put this in the video. You can edit this out. He did he really waste his time pulling a squeegee? Just tell me.
did he what?
Waste his time pulling a squeegee. He was a
Oh
screen
yeah.
printer.
Oh
Oh my
yeah,
god,
absolutely.
what a waste of talent. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. In fact, up until just like a couple months ago, I would be at home because I live within eye shot of the shop. I see the
Okay.
back door open. Look out my window. And sure enough, he's in here printing t-shirts on a Saturday at like, 9:30 at night. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell is he doing over there doing that? But yeah, he's always thinking, always looking at new ways to make the software
Yeah. I
better.
mean, like that. That is something that I think that's just another thing that people should know is that the person that developed the software is 110% committed,
Yeah.
and he it seems like he doesn't get tired of it, and
No.
he never thinks, well, I've worked so hard on it, it's good enough. It doesn't seem to be ever good enough. There's always
Right.
room for improvement, and that's important. You
I've
know,
seen him. I've seen him say literally, "All right, I'm going to take a week off from development. My brain is fried." Okay, I'll run interference for you. It's cool. And then like the next day, so I've been working on this thing, and I'm like, "The hell? You just said you were taking a break."
yeah, no, I
But
mean that is like I think that it takes. I think business people can truly appreciate that, and I'm sure his wife doesn't think it's so great. But
nope.
me as a workaholic, just to see him, to see another person that cannot, ever put it down and never not really complain about it, and it's just he's locked in. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
that's somebody you
awesome.
want on your side.
Absolutely. I mean, I
Uh,
owned my own software company before I worked for
okay,
him,
all right,
and we had a certain culture there. And coming here was a little bit of a different culture, because we were more corporate and all that.
right,
Um, And what I found working here is that because of we're slimmed down and because we do things the way we do it, we're able to treat each customer as a human being, as someone
uh,
who we're part of their team and they're part of our team. Um, that's not to say in my old company we didn't try to do that,
right. No,
but our culture was much different. Much prefer this culture. I much
yeah.
prefer the way we do things in this company than the way I did it in the previous company. So, um, would you recommend us to other shops? I think I know the answer to that
Yeah,
already,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, at the trade show, I felt like I could be like the cheerleader, as Ron's there trying to show him the software. I'm trying to talk to somebody else, and like, no, this is like you're in the right place. You just don't know it yet.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, no, there's, I don't think there's a bigger cheerleader that you can have than yours truly. And
I
and
appreciate
again, I
that.
only know you guys. I know you guys less than a year.
That's
But
awesome.
it's a true testament to your work ethic, the product, and the adaptability. To me, your adaptability and the immediacy and the way it seems like if that email goes off to tech support, it's like a 5 alarm fire in your place because there's got to be a way to fix it right now. And no
Exactly.
one gets that kind of service. Nobody gets that kind of service.
Well, what are you going to do?
You
You
know?
got your shirts on the
Yeah.
printer, right? And you
I
got your ink spread and you're ready to rock. And then what?
Yeah. No. No. I mean,
You don't have
listen.
72
Yeah.
hours to wait, right?
Yeah. No. But like that. But in today's day and age, it's I'll email you back. And that's like I said, you've ruined customer service for me for the rest of my life.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you. Well, I really appreciate you taking all this time out. I'm going
That's
to
no problem. Thanks,
leave
Larry.
you with
Yeah.
a little thank you. I really want to have your final thoughts. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk about Price and talk about us. But any final thoughts you want to share with anybody watching this?
Um, don't be afraid to take. Don't be afraid to take that next step. Don't be afraid to be organized. Yes, it's going to take uh, some effort. It's going to take a lot of effort. It pays back. It pays you. It'll pay you back. All right. This is the right company. This is the right partner. Um, and I cannot stress that enough. I mean, there's other companies out there that maybe have different bundles, different packages. you want someone that's going to hear and answer your questions immediately. This is the place. And I didn't even when I was going through my list of pros and cons, this never even came up. It's something that I was just very fortunate enough that once we started doing business that I realized, and I can't, and it's become really the most invaluable part of it, is that if there's ever a question, a concern, whatever, it gets answered. It gets answered immediately. And if there happens to be a little blip in the program or something, it gets fixed like that, and it's like it never even happened. So, I mean,
Nice.
the way you guys can respond to things is truly incredible, and I think that it's hard to quantify it. And I hope if anyone is hearing my words that they can uh, take that and put more weight behind it than anything else.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Savastano from Embroidery by Cozy in New Jersey. Thank you so much for your time today and for sitting in with us. I'm hoping that maybe if a customer wants to talk to you directly, that would be okay if they reached out to
Of
you,
course.
potential.
Yeah, of course. Of
All
course. Of
right.
course.
Excellent. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks again, sir. And
Thank you.
we'll talk again soon.
Yeah. Just
All
keep
right.
doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate everything.
Appreciate it. Take
All right.
care.
Take care
Yep.
now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.